So, morning everyone, welcome to the Mindful Drop. And this one, we're talking about lavender and tea tree because I've been using both of these a lot in the last few weeks. So lavender is about everything calming and soothing physically and emotionally and mentally. In the Essential Life book, it says the properties are calming, regenerating, and healing. And so I'll tell you, I'm going to read a bit from the Essential Life book and a bit from the Advanced Oil Magic book. And then I'll discuss a little bit about how I use them personally. So sleep issues, top uses are sleep issues, applying under the nose and to the bottoms of the feet or diffusing. Stress, anxiety, and teeth grinding. It's actually very nice for teeth grinding. And that's to apply over the heart or otherwise from cupped hands in moments of stress and anxiety. For sunburns, burns, and scars. So actually I've used this enormously in the last few months. I was cooking roasted vegetables and opened our oven, and it's actually a much smaller oven, and I've realized now that the steam builds up, and so my hands burnt enormously with this like steam burn as the steam came out, and there it was sort of almost second or third degree burns. It was hectic, and I just put lavender neat on and I applied it quite a few times. It still was burning quite a lot, and actually I luckily had aloe vera gel and I added that. And then I just kept using the lavender and some tea tree and aloe vera, and it was amazing how quickly it actually settled the burning. And I later peeled, but I didn't have any blisters and I didn't have any pain after that evening. I didn't even have to take a painkiller. And then when we were in Greece, Pippa, our daughter, fell asleep in the sun the one afternoon and it got terrible sunburn on her back. And again, all holiday, we applied lavender to her back. I didn't have tea tree with me as well, but I applied just almost neat lavender. And then the Greeks also talk about using yogurt. So we had a yogurt and lavender mix, putting it on her back. And again, it really recovered very well. So lavender is amazing for any sort of burns and sunburns. And then allergies and hay fever. It says take in a capsule or under the tongue with lemon and peppermint, or rub in the palms and inhale from cupped hands. So we use this allergy mix quite a lot, especially in times of the seasonal changes when there's hay fever and things like that. Dropping a drop of lemon, lavender, and peppermint. That's our antihistamine mix. Lemon, lavender, and peppermint. Dropping a drop of each of those into a little bit of water and drinking it, or in a capsule. And in fact, Finn and I both suffer from seasonal allergies. He's about 12. And so I will put those drops in and I'll have it like that. And then I just put in a little bit more water and I don't even need to add more drops and he has it. And so it works well like that. And then you can also take a smear of coconut oil and a drop of each and put it sort of over sinuses in the back of the neck for times of high allergies and hay fever. And then colic and upset baby, massaging lavender along the spine and abdomen or bottoms of the feet to calm. I so wish I'd had lavender when our children were little. Cuts, wounds, and blisters, applying on the site to cleanse, heal, and limit or to avoid scarring. So actually, this is something I learned with Dr. Riggs, and he's going to be doing a call on Monday evening for those of you who'd like to join. He's fascinating listening to him. He's got wealth of knowledge. And he was saying putting lavender directly into open wounds every sort of 3 to 4 hours for the first sort of day or two really speeds up the healing of those wounds. And they've done this. They can only make these sort of claims when they've done scientific research on that, and they have done it. So putting lavender directly into wounds. And lavender also has like it's also got like antiviral properties as well. And then bug bites and hives, putting it on the site to heal. So I quite often, so if you've had a bee sting or a bug bite, just putting lavender directly on, or making a little lavender and bicarb like paste and putting that on, because the bicarb also helps to denature the poison. So it works quite well. And then nosebleeds and pink eye, applying across the nose of the bridge, or the bridge of the nose, or around the eye. using it like that to stop a nosebleed works very well. And also using with lavender and tea tree, we can use it around the eye. We'd put a little bit of coconut oil and then a drop of lavender and tea tree, and then rub those around the eyes. Or for any ear issues, like around the ear, for styes, pink eye, around the eye, and then any ear issues, we start with lavender and tea tree around the ears. And then high blood pressure, use it on pulse points and over the heart, or take it in a capsule. So high blood pressure, one can always just use it as a to help sort of an acute basis or on a chronic basis, taking a drop in water sort of twice a day, just a little bit of water, and using on the pulse points. And then migraines and headaches, inhaling and applying to the temples and the back of the neck. It's lovely for that. And the emotional is from unheard to expressed. So it is the oil in the essential emotions and essential oils. It says lavender is the oil of communication and calm. Lavender aids verbal expression and calming the mind. So I'm not going to go through all of that right now, but it says lavender supports individuals in releasing tension and constriction that stems from withheld expression. So again, it's all about calming. And then in the advanced oil magic, so it talks about the main properties being antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, anti-venomous, calmative, and cytophylactic. I'll have to look up what that is. So the top uses are stress and anxiety, as we've mentioned, putting 1 to 2 drops on the temples or diffusing. For sleep, 2 drops to the bottom of the feet and temples, or diffuse near the bedside. For skin irritation and burns, as I've just mentioned, applying 1 to 2 drops with carrier oil or carrier yogurt for a burn. Allergies and hay fever, putting a drop under the tongue for 30 seconds and then swallowing with water. So that's a way I haven't used it in the past. I usually just have it with the lemon and the peppermint and take it like that. But it says putting a drop under the tongue for 30 seconds, then swallowing with water for allergies and hay fever. Cuts, blisters, and scrapes, apply diluted to affected area. Irritability, so that's emotional irritability because it calms everything, applying 1 to 2 drops on pulse points. And headaches and migraines, applying 1 to 2 drops to the temples and base of skull. And the other uses are things like allergies, bee stings, bites, blisters, chickenpox, and it has a sort of a whole range, but basically anything that needs calming and soothing. So that is lavender, and I think I've covered all the ways I use it. Oh, and one of my favorite ways is in my calm roller that I take with me everywhere. It's got lavender. I do about 12 drops lavender, 8 drops peppermint, and 5 drops frankincense with fractionated coconut oil. And that, again, just calms everything. And I use that if I'm out and about and someone has a sting or a bite or a sore or anything like that. I'll use that roller around the area. So please.
Next, sorry, won't you repeat that blend? 12 lavender.
12 lavender and 8 peppermint and about 5 frankincense. And that's my calm roller.
Thank you so much.
Use and gift so much. I think it's also such a lovely gift to give to people. So that's the calm roller. Any other questions, please feel free to put in the chat or unmute yourself and ask. And then tea tree, or it's also in a lot of books as Melaleuca. So that's very strongly antiseptic and antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. And so it's brilliant for cuts and wounds. In fact, it was used extensively before we had antibiotic creams and sprays and lotions. It was used in a lot of wartime and even just general use. And I think we're going to have to be returning to using a lot more things like tea tree. In fact, there are actually quite a few articles about it, even in some of the medical journals, because of our multi-drug resistant bacteria that's developing from the overuse of antibiotics. So tea tree is great to apply to clean and disinfect wounds. It's very good for bacteria, viruses, and diarrhea to take in a capsule or apply to the abdomen. Cankers and cold sores to use on the site to prevent and treat. Athlete's foot and candida issues So you can take it in a capsule or apply diluted to the area. So, I mean, if we've ever got an issue, like if I feel something between my toes and I feel like, oh, maybe this is the start of something, I'll actually just tip the bottle over, dab a bit on my finger, and just then dab it directly onto the area, or even just put a drop directly onto the area. A sore throat and tonsillitis, you can take in a capsule or gargle with warm water. And then things like, we all know it in those tea tree shampoos and things for lice and dandruff and things like that. So you can apply directly to the area, or you can even just put 2 drops of tea tree in your shampoo just to keep the antiviral properties there. One can, if one has lice, you can make a coconut oil with a couple of drops of tea tree and spread it through the hair, leave it there, and then just comb it out. It works very well. Again, I wish I knew this when our children were that sort of age. Ear infections, we use it with lavender around the ear. So using it topically with a little smear of coconut oil. And acne, pink eye. So I've just talked about that as well, with using it around with pink eye or styes, and even acne, any pimples. It's quite useful just to do a dab of tea tree. And then these days, now that we've got Correctex, we use quite a lot of that, and that's got tea tree in it as well. So it's easy to dab on on pimples. It's very good for that sort of thing. And so then it talks about cold and flu, which I'll talk a little bit more about just now. Hives, rashes, itchy eyes. It says taking in a capsule, applying to the affected area. And the emotional thing is from unsure to collected. And so it says here, with 12 times the antiseptic power of a phenol, Australian Aboriginals have used tea tree for centuries, often crushing leaves in their hands and inhaling the aroma for colds and illnesses. And then the advanced oil magic talks about, again, rashes and eczema. So we use a lot of lavender and tea tree in our skin spray. So the skin spray, I do 10 drops of lavender, 10 drops of tea tree, and 10 drops of frankincense. And that's one of the things that I take around with me, like our first aid kit. So we use that first for the sunburn, and we put a little bit of coconut oil, well, half the bottle of coconut oil, and then top up with water. And that's great for immediate use on burns, sunburns, skin wounds, anything like that. That's the skin spray or owie spray. So it works well with those, but yeah, we use the spray bottle in about a day. And it's also very good for rashes and eczema, that same combination of lavender, tea tree, and frankincense, but one can make it more into a salve or a balm and use like shea butter and propolis and things. We've got some nice recipes there, so that I won't go into that now, but if anyone wants that recipe, that's very good for skin rashes. And then again, as we talked about dandruff, 2 drops to shampoo. Athlete's foot, you can put 1 to 2 drops neat to clean feet. Acne and blemishes, staph infections. So that's an important one. That's what I was talking about the MRSA, and having to use it more for staph and strep throat and tonsillitis. So gargling with water. So again, if you think that it's a viral infection or strep throat, just gargling in that area is very helpful. So just 2 drops in water, and then 2 drops diluted to the outside of the throat. And then herpes, apply 1 drop diluted to the affected area. So people also make a yoga mat cleaning spray with tea tree. So it's perfect for any cleaning stuff. So some of my ways that I use it is so we use it a lot for burns, and it's the active ingredient in Burn Shield. So it is the basis of that. And then it's very good for cuticle health. So I use that, I make a little mix with tea tree, lemon, and frankincense or myrrh. And you can use that like a little roller to put around your nails at night. It's good for that sort of thing. And then obviously it's one of the main ingredients that we use in flute, which is our natural antibiotic, which is frankincense, lemon, on guard, oregano, and tea tree. So we use that flute we can use it in a roller. and we can use it in a capsule. And at the moment, our Finn has got a bit of a spider bite, or not a bit of it, he's actually got a spider bite on his forehead, which we're monitoring very closely. And I've been putting some tea tree and actually xendocrine on it to try and detox the area. And he's sort of got a bit of it in his gland. So I put a little bit of coconut oil with tea tree, xendocrine and cypress to help with the draining of the lymph. And then I'm making him a little flute capsule as an antibiotic capsule. So we're putting a drop of each with a little bit of coconut oil, of the frankincense, lemon, on guard, oregano, and tea tree. And I'm keeping a very close eye on him and seeing how he's doing with it. If we need to go and see a doctor, we will, but we're just seeing so far he's managing it very well. And I'll continue with using xendocrine to help detox his body afterwards. And then a good use if people are prone to urine tract infections or candida, but just putting a drop of tea tree in the underwear every day is quite a useful thing, or even if you just feel something brewing. And then we've talked about using around the eye for pink eye, sty, and around the ear for any sore ears, ear conditions. You don't need to know what's going on. If someone's got a sore ear, just putting lavender and tea tree. But again, with all of these things, it's best to do it almost every 2 hours and use it often in the beginning. And then one doesn't have to use it for as long. Whereas sometimes we make the mistake of doing 1 or 2 doses and then think it's not working. And we want to actually dose it, so microdose it often in the beginning. I've mentioned about it being good for pimples. Warts, it's also very good for warts, using tea tree and oregano in a little bit of just a little sample bottle, and then putting it on any warts or skin tags or anything like that, and putting it on. We often suggest to put it next to your toothbrush so that you can have a reminder and put it on twice a day, just onto any skin tags or warts. And then we talked about lice, but tea tree is one that we use with caution with animals, because cats really don't do well with tea tree. So we can obviously use it ourselves and have it in our home, but we never want to keep them in a closed room with tea tree diffusing. And also we don't use it much on animals. We'd rather use something like lavender for the antiviral and antibacterial properties. So any questions about tea tree? And tea tree's emotional things is all the energetic boundaries. So similar to On Guard, where it's all about boundaries, it's disinfectant by nature. Tea tree, Melaleuca, also known as tea tree oil, clears negative energetic baggage. It specifically releases codependent and parasitic relationships. So, and it goes on. So yeah, those are 2 that we've been using a lot recently, and that I couldn't believe I didn't take my tea tree to Greece. But any questions about this? Good, thanks. I hope it was interesting.
So helpful to hear all the variety of uses, because I think I'd just go immediately to a roller. But when you just spoken for the last 19 minutes about everything that we can use, it's amazing. So thank you so much.
Pleasure. Well, it's a good reminder for everyone and for me. So a skin, and also, so don't be scared of using it more neat or just with a tiny bit of coconut. Like I keep a little jar or bottle with the thicker coconut oil next to my oil, so that I can just take a little bit of a smear and put a drop or 2 of whatever oils I'm using. So like with Finn, I just put a little drop here, and then I put, so it's slightly diluted, but you can still use it quite in quite a strong form. Whereas the rollers are great for sort of frequent use, but not necessarily. So like I gave him a lavender roller to take with him, so he can use that during the day, but I still want to give it sort of a stronger application morning and evening. And so the skin for the rash, it's just the skin mix is 10 drops lavender, 10 drops frankincense, 10 drops tea tree, with sort of half coconut oil and half water. That's in the skin spray. And then I can send you a recipe for more for if you're looking for more of a thicker balm, which has got shea butter and propolis and things for a more severe rash or a more severe eczema. Because there are other lovely skin oils too that we can add to this, but this is our basis. This is like our starting point, our base.
Very, very helpful.
Good. Well, thanks everyone, and I'll see you next week. I know I'll be talking about deep blue, and I don't know what else yet, but deep blue is also one that I use and love frequently. Thanks for joining, and see you then.
Nikki, can I just ask one thing?
Mm-hmm.
I've had some swelling in my legs and things on my one leg, but I've been having physio. But I see somebody who does massage, and she said to me she thinks that I'm taking too many capsules and too much of the oils. Maybe it's causing liver problem. Is that possible?
I haven't heard of that, but I can do some research on it. So what we'll do is perhaps I'll stop recording and we can just talk about what you use, and anyone else who wants to drop off can do that, and we can just see what your daily protocol is and what you're doing, and then we'll get an idea of whether it's too much.
Yeah, thank you.
So thanks everyone. I'll just end the recording now.